Welcome back for another video. We're back for the Gameweek22 Experts video. With back-to-back double game weeks ahead, these videos are especially useful as we look at how the experts navigate the next few weeks. This series includes hundreds of managers, including a bunch of top all-time managers and content creators. Each game week we look at the updated experts team and we look at their transfer plans, captaincy, chip usage and more. This wisdom of the crowd approach will guide you to better decisions and a better rank. So if you'd like to improve your rank and get help winning your mini leagues through valuable experts data, make sure you're subscribing. Starting with a brief manager highlight, and the top expert heading into Game Week 22 is David Vo, who's moved up to 2k overall after scoring a massive 98 points last game week, despite 2 0-pointers from White and Shaw. His total points are now 1,374. He's never finished outside the top 100k, and he's targeting back-to-back top 10k finishes. Someone suggested in the comments last week to add the average expert score so you can't measure yourselves against them, so that's been added moving forward. The average expert score last week was 78. If you manage to beat the expert score every week, you're on for a very good season. Moving on to the experts transfer activity. The hits are flying again as just 1% are roll on the transfer, 45% are making one transfer and 40% are making two. A massive 14% are making 3 transfers and one expert has their wildcard active. He has shared his team and thoughts, which we'll run through later in the video. In terms of the number of hits active, 22% are on a -4 hit and 1% are on a -8. Certainly when it's a double game week, it's easier to justify the hits. If you don't own the likes of Fernandes, Rashford and Shaw, all three can easily repay 4 lost points this game week, with back-to-back home fixtures to Crystal Palace and Leeds. Since the restart, Leeds are 19th worst for expected goals conceded and Palace are 18th. So let's look at the players the experts are both bringing in and selling. You can paint a picture from the top 2 players on each list here, Fernandes and De Bruyne. 44% of those making a transfer are bringing Fernandes in and 22% are selling De Bruyne. Despite the upcoming double game week 23 for Man City, they're willing to sell, and of course there's still the opportunity to buy De Bruyne straight back. That said, Man United's fixtures are good up until blank game week 25. They play Leeds again in game week 23 and Leicester in game week 24. 20% are bringing in Nketiah. Many have opted to downgrade Kane to free up the money for Fernandes, which we can see from 7% selling Kane. If you can bring in both an Arsenal and Man United play in combination, it's a great set of moves this week, with Arsenal doubling in game week 23 as well. Odegaard and Saka are among the most bought players for that reason. Rodrigo is up there as well, though there is a rumour going around that he's picked up an injury, but nothing reliable at the time of recording. Wait for the press conferences where we should get confirmation. Mings is a surprise name to see picked up by a few experts, but when you step back there's actually some logic to this one. They won't blank in game week 25 where they face Everton, but they also don't blank in game week 28, which will be a huge blank game week facing Bournemouth at home. We'll talk a bit more about the fixtures later. It's a long-term planning move, but as a 4th or 5th defender, an Aston Villa player makes sense. Martial was back in the Man United squad for the League Cup game after missing 3 matches, and he actually came off the bench and scored. Nonetheless, 9% have sold Martial, presumably for Nketiah or Nonto, in order to free up a 3rd Man United spot for Fernandes. There's a jaw-dropping number of triple captainships active. Let's have a look at the experts' chip usage. As it stands, 96.4% still have their wildcard available. One manager has theirs active, and we'll take a look at their team in a moment. 55% have got the triple captain active this game week. I can confirm as well that every single one of them has it active on Rashford. That said, we'll look at the experts' captaincy later in the video, as there are a few non-triple captainers that have gone elsewhere. Ben is the one expert who has a wildcard active. We caught up with him earlier in the week, and he has sent his team in, which is as follows. He's got Kepa in goal, a back 3 of Trippier, Shaw and White. The midfield is Rashford captain, Mitoma, Fernandes and Martinelli, and a front 3 of Tony, Kane and Haaland. On the bench he's got Ward, Mahrez, Botman and Bueno. He also sent in some thoughts behind the team and his decision to activate the wildcard this early, which are as follows. First of all, if your team's in a good enough shape as it stands, I would say you certainly should be aiming to triple captain Rashford if anything. However, this is a strategy I've been comfortable using over the years. A wildcard fairly early on in the second half of the season can set you up well for the singles, doubles and blanks for at least the next 5 to 6 game weeks, which is something that you should consider. There were lots of players in my previous team such as Mitrovic, Foden and Cancelo who simply weren't good choices anymore in my eyes, and lots of potentials across other players such as the likes of Mitoma. At the cost of entering blank game week 25 with likely 9 to 10 players, I've certainly set myself up well until game week 29 where a likely free hit. Thanks for sending in, Ben, and best of luck with the wildcard. Since Ben talked a bit about the blanks and doubles later in the season, we've taken the opportunity to add a short segment this week regarding the fixtures. This graphic's from Mikhail Tokvam, and it projects the number of fixtures in every game week for the rest of the season. So why is this useful? Well, there could be lots of potential blank and double game weeks that you might be unaware of. In this graphic, 1.0 indicates one fixture, and 1.5 for example would mean a 50% chance of 2 fixtures. This hasn't been updated following the League Cup results, but we do know that Newcastle, Brighton, Man United and Brentford do blank in Gameweek 25 with no fixtures. However, looking at Liverpool and Wolves, they have around a 38% and 30% chance of a double game week respectively in Gameweek 25. If we look at Gameweek 26 and Gameweek 27, Brighton have a 42% chance and a 30% chance of a double game week in those weeks. There are currently 11 postponements which the Premier League still need to reschedule, and Brighton are the only team that have 3 to reschedule. So the Premier League will look to arrange those at the earliest good opportunity. So the takeaway is to remain flexible, don't formulate a plan and be stubborn with it. As disappointing as Salah's been, if they have a double game week in 25 against Wolves and Crystal Palace, there's every chance a low ownership Salah could haul and send you up the ranks. He's on 103 points over the season, not that far behind Odegaard, who leads with 117. Or likewise, if Brighton get a double game week 25 and or 26, the likes of Matoma, Marsh, Dunk, Estepinian and Ferguson could all be fantastic picks. This also shows quite clearly what a difficult week Game Week 28 will be, with 11.7 estimated games in total. It will be the biggest blank game week of the season, and it'll be a popular week to free hit. That said, if you can scrape through Game Week 28, then free hitting a big double such as 34 or 37 could pay more points. Which takes us back to the point about players like Tyrone Mings already being brought in by some experts, and they have a guaranteed fixture in blank Game Week 25 and 28. It can be a bit overbearing to look that far ahead sometimes, and we try to break it down as simple as possible on this channel. If you end up free hitting in Game Week 28, it's a simple and good solution. Before we look at the captaincy and the experts team, if this video has been useful, please drop it a like and subscribe for unmissable content as we head into the challenging second half of the season. Thanks for all the support. Onto the experts captaincy, and not a lot to discuss this week. 98% of the experts have gone for Rashford captain. In unstoppable form recently, and he was rested in the second League Cup fixture against Nottingham Forest on Wednesday night. He came off the bench in the 62nd minute and changed the game, picking up 2 assists as the game ended 2-0. Just 2% have opted for Fernandes captain. The projections have him and Rashford fairly close, so if you're looking for the potential upside, he is the one this week. Fernandes did actually play the full 90 minutes in that League Cup fixture, but that's not unusual for him. Moving on to the experts team, which is built from their highest owned players, and the team is as follows. It's Kepa in goal, home to Fulham, a back 3 of Shaw, Trippier and White. The midfield is Fernandes vice-captain, Martinelli, Saka and Rashford captain. The front 3 is Mitrovic, Haaland and Kane. Despite a significant amount of transfers in for Nketiah, it's not enough to knock Mitrovic out of the team this week, though looking likely for Game Week 23. Rashford is 99% owned among the experts, almost double that among the entire player base. The ownership percentages are always a useful trick for spotting players that the experts are keen on, which the wider player base are overlooking. Such as Ake, he's only 3% owned overall, but 16% among the experts, over 5 times as much. This will probably only rise in the coming weeks as well, and with the departure of Cancelo to Bayern, that left back spot looks more nailed for him, his main competition now being Gomez and Laporte. Despite the upcoming double game week 23, Haaland's the only Man City asset that makes the team and 100% owned. It'll be interesting to see whether De Bruyne, Mahrez or Ake make the team. Each game week we ask the experts to offer their insight and tips for the game week ahead. Indigo Trazis says Brighton players shouldn't be overlooked because of one blank game week. FPL agrees and he says, even though Brighton looks set to blank in Game Week 25, I can't ignore Matoma, especially with a home fixture against Bournemouth. I'm about 75% locked in on the triple captainship also, hoping for a double-digit haul from Rashford. A return from each game seems very possible. Scott is one of the few managers left of a triple captainship after Game Week 22, and he says Bruno looks to be the most obvious to bring in, though he may have to go already next week to bring in a player from Arsenal. Triple captain I'm waiting with, and will probably use it on Haaland in Game Week 23. Marco disagrees and he says, if you still got the triple captain chip, it makes sense to play in Game Week 22 or 23, so you can focus your chip strategy on the upcoming blanks and doubles. So it's essentially Rashford versus Haaland. I prefer Rashford this week based purely off the fixtures. Palace and Leeds are in the bottom 3 for expected goals conceded since the restart, and the Arsenal fixture for Haaland in 23 puts me off him. FPL Sharmanator says double game week 22, double game week 23 are the game weeks we love to play FPL for. Hop on the double game week bandwagon as there are gains to be made, with an eye on blank game week 25. FPL Fish says most have Shaw or Rashford, so Bruno is probably the next best option this week. but I can't get to him without selling De Bruyne or Kane, and I don't want to sell either. Instead I'm going for Martinez in to double on defence and hope for at least one clean sheet. You can't always have everyone you want. Nick LB doesn't mind moving Kane on. He says, tough to get rid of a consistent player like Kane, but you have to attack the doubles. Mardy says, thanks for the memories Cancelo, FPL legend. FPL Kaki says, I can't believe Pep transferred out Cancelo before I did. And lastly, Adriel says, Rashford will cook. That concludes episode 22 of The Experts. Thanks for watching. If you found it useful, please remember to like the video and subscribe for weekly content to come for the rest of the season. See you soon for the next one.